Those were some of the demonstrators outside the Rowan County Courthouse today, both supporters and opponents of County Clerk Kim Davis and her refusal to grant marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Here is what Senator Rand Paul told Boston Herald Radio.
I do object to the state putting its imprimatur to the specialness of marriage on something that's different than most people have defined as marriage for most of history. So one way is just getting the state out completely. And I think that's what we're headed towards, actually. Whether or not people who still work for the state can do it without the legislature changing it is something I'm going to leave up to the courts exactly how to do it. But I think people who do stand up and are making a stand to say that they believe in something is an important part of the American way.
Shortly thereafter, David Axelrod asked the question many of us are wondering: how quickly will Kentucky Clerk's defiance of SCOTUS on same-sex marriage become a contentious issue in the GOP presidential race? Joining us now is Dan Savage, a columnist and host of the Savage Lovecast. Dan, it seems like it's an issue officially as of this moment, and I guess I wonder, what is your reaction to Rand Paul's contention that I guess I'll leave it up to the courts to decide, when in fact it looks like the courts have pretty much decided on this one?
They have decided, and this is a settled issue. And it's important to point out that Kim Davis, as John Corvino wrote today in the Detroit Free Press, and I think he said it best, is being asked to administer the law, which is her job. She's not being asked to perform a sacrament. She's tasked with ascertaining that the people in front of her, the couple standing in front of her, have a legal right to get married and to provide them with that license. She is not a minister. She actually thinks she works for God there in the county courthouse when she actually works for Caesar. And someone needs to acquaint her of that fact.
Dan, I want to play a little bit of sound from our interview moments ago with Misters Moore and Ermold and what they contend about Kim Davis and her role in all of this. Let's take a listen. She effectively, they said, and I'll read the verbatim, "I think that what Kim Davis wants is to be a martyr. I think that it makes me feel terrible that we would accommodate someone so that they can discriminate against a minority group or a specific group of people." So if Kim Davis wants to be a martyr, it looks like there are plenty of people who are ready to follow her. And in fact, she is backed by a group, the Liberty Council. Matt Staver, her lawyer, is part of this group that has funding and is ready to take this cause to the highest levels.
The Liberty Council is ready and willing to exploit Kim Davis. I actually think Kim Davis does wish to be a martyr. We've seen with some other people who have attacked same-sex couples during the whole debate over same-sex marriage, or as was the case with the pizza parlor that said that they would refuse to cater a same-sex wedding, and no one had asked them to actually cater a same-sex wedding with their pizza. They wound up raising $1 million on a GoFundMe page for that couple, for those people who ran that pizza parlor. And I think Kim Davis is waiting to cash in. I predicted from the beginning that she would defy all the court orders, defy the Supreme Court. She would ultimately be held in contempt of court, lose her job, perhaps go to prison for a short amount of time. And then she will have written for her ghost-written book. She will go on the right-wing lecture circuit, and she'll never have to do an honest day's work ever again in her life. This is about someone hypocritically cashing in, and she is a hypocrite. She said today, and I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I get it right, "I never imagined a day like this would come where I would be asked to violate a central teaching of Scripture and of Jesus himself regarding marriage." This is a woman who has been divorced 3 times and married 4 times, and I'm going to read this too. She gave birth to twins 5 months after divorcing her first husband. They were fathered by her 3rd husband, but adopted by her 2nd husband. She's now on to her 4th husband. Jesus Christ himself in Scripture condemns divorce, calls it adultery, and forbids it. Jesus Christ himself in Scripture says not one word about same-sex marriage.
And yet, Dan, so while this may end up being a lucrative position for Davis and some of her acolytes to take, this also becomes a very serious problem for the national field of Republican candidates who are looking to get to the highest office in the land, right? I mean, effectively, at this moment, Kim Davis is becoming a litmus test for the candidates. I do want to play what Lindsey Graham said when he was asked about her and what she should do. This is what he said.
What's your opinion on what she ought to do here, Senator?
As a public official, comply with the law or resign.
And no middle ground, right? The rule of law is the rule of law.
The rule of law is the rule of law. That's what we're, a rule of law nation, and I appreciate her conviction. I support traditional marriage, but she's accepted a job where she has to apply the law to everyone, and that's her choice.
Okay, Dan, so there is Lindsey Graham sort of making the cleanest exit from this controversy, but one gets the sense that there will be a lot of turning into pretzels among this field on how to deal with the Kim Davis issue.
And those of us who've been in the same-sex marriage fight for a long time, we get the sense that, the reality now is that this is an issue that divides the Republican Party. For a long time, it was an issue that divided the Democratic Party and split the Democratic base. And it's delicious to see how the worm has turned and how this divides the Democrats. The only thing I would add to what Lindsey Graham said, and I agree with him almost completely, is that you can support traditional marriage and support same-sex marriage too. It is not an either-or consideration. I support opposite-sex traditional marriages for straight people who wish to marry. You can support those marriages. I support the marriage of my father. I support the marriages of my siblings who are straight without having to forbid or attack the marriages entered into by same-sex couples.
And indeed, for a Republican Party that has staked a lot of claim on this president acting unconstitutional and circumventing rule of law, here is someone circumventing rule of law, right?
Absolutely. And are we going to live in a society where we're going to empower people to break the law, to disobey the law, to walk off their jobs when they're public servants, elected officials, people charged with a public trust, when something violates their religious beliefs? Is this something that Christians want to see Muslims doing or Jews doing? Do you want to have to call the grocery store if you want to go buy some bacon and make sure that everybody working that day is willing to handle pork products, which not everyone is for religious reasons? Do you want cab drivers to refuse to pick up single unaccompanied women because it violates their religious beliefs? We live in a pluralistic, multicultural, multi-faith, multi-denominational, within faiths society, and it would be utter chaos if everyone was empowered to cite God's authority to violate the law or break the law.
God's authority being a very special thing to each person
And a very
in America.
subjective thing.